Your doctor tells you to walk more. Your trainer says lift weights. The internet screams yoga and Pilates at you from every corner. And here's what nobody mentions. There's a single movement practiced by millions of people in Japan every single day that takes 90 seconds, requires zero equipment, and has been linked to better balance, sharper cognition, lower fall risk, and longer independent living than almost any other exercise you can name. It's so simple that most Americans dismiss it the moment they hear about it. It's so effective that researchers in Tokyo tracked over 2,000 people in their 70s and 80s for more than a decade and found that those who did this one thing daily had 40% fewer hospital admissions for fractures and 30% better scores on memory tests than those who didn't, and yet 99% of seniors in the United States have never tried it, not even once. Here's the thing. We've been sold a very specific story about aging and exercise. That story says you need a gym membership, a physical therapist, fancy shoes, or at least a yoga mat and an hour of free time. That story makes movement feel like a project instead of a habit. And while you're busy planning the perfect workout routine, your balance is quietly deteriorating. Your proprioception, that's your body's ability to know where it is in space, is fading. And your risk of a life-changing fall is climbing every single month. Meanwhile, in Japan, 70-year-olds are doing this movement while they wait for the kettle to boil. 80-year-olds are doing it while they brush their teeth. And 90-year-olds are doing it in the hallway before breakfast. No special time, no special place, just 90 seconds of intentional practice woven into the day like breathing. Before we go any further, drop a comment right now and tell me how old you are and where you're watching from. I want to know who's in this room with me today, because what I'm about to share works whether you're 62 or 92, whether you've been active your whole life or you haven't exercised in 20 years. Now, I'm going to walk you through 10 elements of this practice, counting down from 10 to 1, and I'm building towards something. Number 2 is the element that surprised every single American physical therapist I've shown this to. And number 1 is the piece that changes everything. The piece that makes this more than just an exercise and turns it into a daily reset for your entire nervous system. But we have to start at 10 and work our way in, because each layer builds on the one before it, and if you skip ahead, you'll miss why this works the way it does. Number 10. It begins with standing on one leg, and you're already rolling your eyes. I can feel it. Standing on one leg sounds like something a kindergarten teacher makes you do, not something that could extend your independence by years. But here's what the research shows. Your ability to stand on one leg for 10 seconds or more is one of the single best predictors of all-cause mortality in people over 60. That's not my opinion. That's data from a study that followed more than 1,700 middle-aged and older adults for 7 years. The people who couldn't hold a single leg stand for 10 seconds had an 84% higher risk of death from any cause compared to those who could. 84%. Not from heart disease specifically, not from diabetes specifically, from everything. Because balance is a window into your brain, your inner ear, your muscle coordination, your vision, and your confidence. When balance goes, everything else follows faster. Let me tell you about Richard. 71, retired electrician, lived in Ohio, loved woodworking. Came to see me because his daughter was worried. He'd stumbled twice in 1 month, once in the garage, once getting out of the car. No injuries yet, but she could see it coming. I asked Richard to stand on his right leg. He lasted 4 seconds before his arms shot out and his planted foot started hopping around like he was on a hot stove. Left leg, 3 seconds. He laughed it off, said he'd never been good at balance. I told him that balance isn't something you're born good or bad at. It's something you train, just like strength, and it deteriorates fast if you ignore it. We started him on single-leg stands, 10 seconds per side, 3 times a day. No shoes, no socks, just bare feet on the floor. 2 weeks later, he called me. He'd stood on his right leg for 22 seconds that morning and didn't even wobble. A month later, he told me he felt 20 years younger just walking across a parking lot. Here's your protocol. Find a clear spot near a wall or a counter, somewhere you can touch for support if you need it. Take your shoes off. Stand on one leg, whichever feels easier. Don't grip the floor with your toes. just let your foot settle flat and light. Focus your eyes on a point about 6 feet in front of you, not on the floor, not on the ceiling, a stable horizontal point. Hold for 10 seconds. Switch legs. Repeat 3 times per side. Do this every single morning before breakfast. If 10 seconds is too hard, start with 5. If you need to touch the wall, but touch it less every day. Your goal is 20 seconds per leg within a month and 30 seconds within 2 months. That's not wishful thinking. That's what happens when you practice. Number 9. You do it barefoot, always. This isn't a style choice. The bottoms of your feet contain thousands of nerve endings called mechanoreceptors. They're your body's ground radar, constantly feeding your brain information about texture, pressure, angle, and stability. When you wear shoes, especially thick-soled cushioned shoes, you muffle that radar. Your brain gets fuzzy signals and your balance suffers. In Japan, people spend huge portions of their day in bare feet or thin-soled slippers. And researchers believe this is one reason why balance-related falls are significantly less common there than in the United States, even when you control for activity level. One analysis from Kyoto suggested that seniors who spent more time barefoot indoors had nearly 30% better proprioceptive scores than those who wore shoes all day. Margaret, 68, lived in Florida, former nurse. She'd worn Crocs around the house for 15 years because they were easy to slip on. But she noticed that she felt unsteady on tile floors, especially when she turned quickly. I had her try the single-leg stand in her Crocs. 8 seconds, wobbly. Then I had her take them off and try again. 14 seconds, solid. She looked at me like I'd done a magic trick. I told her it wasn't magic, it was neurology. Her feet were finally allowed to talk to her brain again. She started going barefoot inside, just on clean floors, and within 2 weeks she said she felt more confident walking in the dark at night, something she'd been avoiding for years. Your move: take your shoes and socks off before you practice. If your floors are cold, do it on a thin cotton rug, not a thick bath mat. Let your toes spread. Let the skin of your foot feel the texture underneath. If you have neuropathy or open wounds on your feet, check with your doctor first, but for most people, barefoot balance work is not only safe, it's essential. Number 8. You close your eyes, but not at first. This is the progression that turns a simple balance drill into a neurological challenge that keeps working for years. When your eyes are open, your brain relies on 3 systems to keep you upright: vision, your inner ear, and proprioception. When you close your eyes, you take away 1/3 of that triangle, and your brain has to work harder to integrate the other 2. Studies from balance clinics in both the US and Japan have shown that people who practice eyes closed single-leg stands improve their vestibular function. That's your inner ear balance system, faster than those who only practice eyes open. And better vestibular function means fewer falls in the real world, especially in low light or on uneven ground. But here's the key. You don't start with eyes closed. You earn it. First, you get to 20 seconds eyes open, stable, no wobble. Then you try 10 seconds eyes closed. Most people are shocked at how much harder it is. Your body will sway, your brain will panic a little, and that panic is the training. You're teaching your nervous system to trust signals it's been ignoring for years. Thomas, 74, former pilot, lived in Arizona. Sharp guy, still drove, still traveled. But he told me he felt nervous walking on gravel or going downstairs in dim light. His eyes open balance was fine, 25 seconds per leg. I had him close his eyes. 4 seconds and he grabbed the counter. He said it felt like the floor had disappeared. I told him that's exactly what we're fixing. We added eyes closed practice twice a week, just 10 seconds per side. Within 3 weeks, he was up to 15 seconds. A month later, he told me he'd hiked a rocky trail with his grandson and didn't think twice about his footing. Here's your path. Master 20 seconds per leg, eyes open, no wobble, 3 days in a row. Then add 1 eyes closed attempt per session. Start with 5 seconds. Build to 10, then 15. If you feel panicky, open your eyes. If you start to fall, open your eyes. This is not about toughing it out. This is about gradual adaptation. Your brain will catch up if you give it time. Number 7. You integrate breath, and this is where it starts to feel less like exercise and more like meditation. In Japan, many traditional practices, martial arts, tea ceremony, even gardening, are built around coordinated breathing. The idea is simple. Your breath rhythm influences your nervous system, and your nervous system influences your balance. When you hold your breath or breathe shallowly, your body interprets that as stress, and your muscles tighten. When you breathe slowly and deeply, your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, kicks in, and your body becomes more stable and coordinated. Research from a sports science institute in Tokyo found that older adults who practiced balance exercises while maintaining slow nasal breathing, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, improved their balance scores 20% more than those who breathed normally or held their breath. The rhythm matters. The nose matters. The slowness matters. Here's how you do it. Before you lift your leg, take 2 full breaths, in through your nose for 4 counts, out through your nose for 6 counts. Then lift your leg and keep that same rhythm going. 4 in, 6 out. 4 in, 6 out. If you lose the rhythm, you'll probably lose your balance. If you hold your breath, you'll definitely lose your balance. Let the breath carry you. Linda, 69, lived in Oregon, former yoga teacher, so she knew about breath. But she'd never combined it with balance work. She tried it once and told me it felt like her body suddenly had a center of gravity she could feel. She said it was the first time standing on one leg didn't feel like a fight. That's the magic. When your breath is smooth, your body stops fighting itself. Number 6. You do it at the same time every day, and this is where habit architecture comes in. In Japan, daily routines are almost sacred, morning routines especially. There's a concept called asa no katsudo, morning activity, and it's understood that what you do in the first 30 minutes after waking sets the tone for your entire day. You don't need to adopt a whole Japanese morning ritual, but you do need to pick one anchor point in your day and attach this practice to it. Brushing your teeth, waiting for coffee, letting the dog out, whatever. Same time, same place, every single day. Why does this matter? Because your brain loves patterns. When you do something at the same time every day, it stops being a decision and starts being automatic. And automatic habits don't require willpower. They just happen. Studies on habit formation suggest that it takes anywhere from 18 to 66 days for a behavior to become automatic, depending on complexity and consistency. Balance work is simple, so if you anchor it well, you can make it automatic in about 3 weeks. Here's your anchor protocol. Pick one existing morning habit. Right after that habit, do your 90 seconds of balance work, same spot every time. If you miss a day, don't spiral, just get back on it the next morning. Within 3 weeks, you'll find yourself standing on one leg without even thinking about it. Your body will remind you if you forget. Number 5. You add small head movements, and this is where we start to challenge your vestibular system directly. Your inner ear contains 3 semicircular canals filled with fluid. When you move your head, that fluid shifts, and tiny hair cells send signals to your brain about which way is up. As you age, those hair cells become less sensitive, and your brain starts to rely more on vision and less on vestibular input. That's why so many older adults feel dizzy or unsteady when they turn their head quickly. The solution isn't to avoid turning your head. The solution is to train your vestibular system to wake back up. Once you can stand on one leg for 20 seconds with your eyes open and steady breath, start adding slow head turns. Stand on your right leg, turn your head to look over your right shoulder, hold for 3 seconds, return to center. Turn to look over your left shoulder, hold, return to center. Then try a slow nod, looking up toward the ceiling, then down toward the floor. Keep your movements slow and controlled. If you feel dizzy, stop, open your eyes if they're closed, and breathe. Dizziness means your vestibular system is working, and it'll adapt if you keep practicing. Gently. A study from a rehabilitation center in Osaka found that older adults who added head movements to balance exercises reduced their dizziness complaints by nearly 50% over 8. weeks and improved their dynamic balance scores, meaning balance while moving, significantly more than those who only practiced static balance. Paul, 77, lived in Michigan, former factory supervisor. He told me he hated looking over his shoulder when he backed out of parking spaces because it made him feel woozy. We added head turns to his single leg stands. First week, he could barely do 3 seconds without feeling off. Second week, 5 seconds, no dizziness. A month later, he told me he was checking his blind spot while driving without that wave of vertigo he'd gotten used to. He said it felt like someone had recalibrated his inner compass. Your progression. Master 20 seconds of still head balance first. Then add 1 head turn per leg per session. Build up to 3 turns per side. Always move slowly. If you feel dizzy, that's not failure, that's feedback. Your brain is learning. Number 4. You practice it in different locations, and this is key to making the skill transfer. Your brain is very context-dependent. If you only practice balance in your bathroom, your brain will only trust your balance in your bathroom. To build real-world confidence, you need to practice in different rooms, on different surfaces, in different lighting. In Japan, homes are often smaller and people move between rooms more frequently throughout the day, so balance gets practiced in varied contexts naturally. In the US, we tend to park ourselves in 1 or 2 rooms and our brains get lazy. Here's the fix. Once a week, practice your balance somewhere new. Your bedroom instead of the bathroom. Your kitchen instead of the hallway. Outside on the grass or a patio if the weather's good. On a flat, smooth surface one day, on a textured mat another day. Each new surface wakes up different mechanoreceptors in your feet and forces your brain to recalculate. That recalculation is the training. Research on motor learning shows that variable practice, practicing a skill in different contexts, leads to better retention and transfer than blocked practice. Doing the same thing in the same place over and over. You want your balance to work everywhere, not just in the spot where you trained it. Dorothy, 81, lived in Pennsylvania, former librarian. She could stand on 1 leg for 30 seconds in her bathroom, but she felt shaky when she tried it in her kitchen. Different floor, different light, different visual reference points. We had her practice in 3 different rooms over 2 weeks. By the end, she told me she felt steady everywhere. She said it was like her body finally believed it could balance, not just in one safe spot, but anywhere. Your plan. Pick 1 new location per week. Do your full routine there. Notice what feels different. Let your brain adapt. Within a month, you'll have practiced in 4 different spots, and your balance will feel portable, not stuck to 1 room. Number 3. You turn it into a test and a reset. Here's where this practice becomes more than exercise and starts to function as daily biofeedback. Every morning when you do your 90 seconds, you're not just training balance, you're checking in with your nervous system. How steady are you today? How's your focus? How's your breath? If you're wobbling more than usual, that's information. Maybe you didn't sleep well. Maybe you're dehydrated. Maybe you're stressed. Your balance is a mirror for your whole system. In Japan, there's a cultural practice of checking in with your body, not obsessively, but attentively. It's called taikan, body sense. You notice what's off before it becomes a problem. Standing on 1 leg every morning is a taikan check. It takes 90 seconds, and it tells you more about your health than most lab tests. And here's the reset part. When you do this practice, especially with the breath and the focus, you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. You're telling your body it's safe. You're grounding yourself, literally and neurologically. That state of calm focus carries over into the rest of your day. People who do this in the morning report feeling more centered, more confident, and less reactive to stress. A small study from a wellness center in Nagano tracked 30 seniors who practiced single-leg balance with breathwork every morning for 12 weeks. They reported not only better physical balance but also better emotional balance, fewer anxiety symptoms, and better sleep quality. The researchers suggested that the practice was functioning as a daily mindfulness reset, not just a physical drill. Here's how you use it. Every morning, before you start, take a mental note of how you feel. Tired, wired, calm, scattered. Then do your 90 seconds. After, notice again. Most people feel more settled. If you're wobbling a lot one morning, don't judge it. Just notice it. Maybe drink more water that day. Maybe go to bed earlier that night. Let your balance practice be a conversation with your body, not a test you pass or fail. Number 2, and here's the one that surprised every physical therapist I've talked to. You combine it with a cognitive task, and this is where it becomes a brain exercise as much as a body exercise. In Japan, there's growing interest in what's called dual task training, doing 2 things at once to challenge your brain's executive function. The idea is that in real life, you're almost never just standing still. You're standing and talking, standing and looking for your keys, standing and thinking about what to make for dinner. If you only practice balance in silence with total focus, your brain won't know how to balance when it's distracted. And distraction is when most falls happen. So here's the upgrade. Once you can stand on one leg for 30 seconds with good stability, start adding a mental task. Count backwards from 100 by 7s. Name animals that start with each letter of the alphabet. Recite a poem or a prayer. The task should be hard enough that it pulls some of your attention away from your balance, but not so hard that you completely lose focus. Your brain will struggle at first. You'll wobble more. That struggle is exactly what strengthens both your balance and your cognitive flexibility. Research from a neuroscience lab in Tokyo showed that older adults who practiced balance with simultaneous cognitive tasks improved their dual task performance, meaning their ability to walk and talk or walk and carry something, by nearly 40% over 8 weeks. They also showed improvements in working memory and processing speed on separate cognitive tests. The theory is that dual task training forces your brain to allocate attention more efficiently, and that efficiency carries over into other areas of life. Here's the story. Janet, 73, lived in Colorado, former accountant, sharp as a tack. She could balance perfectly in silence, but she told me she felt unsteady whenever she tried to talk to someone while standing in line at the grocery store. We added cognitive tasks to her balance work. First week, she couldn't count backwards by 3s and stay balanced at the same time. She kept losing her place or losing her balance. Second week, better. Third week, she was counting backwards by 7s while standing on one leg for 20 seconds. A month later, she told me she'd had a whole conversation with a friend while standing in a crowded checkout line and didn't think once about her balance. She said it was like her brain had learned to walk and chew gum again. Your protocol. Once you hit 30 seconds of solid single-leg balance, add a cognitive task once per session. Start easy, counting backwards by 1s, then 2s, then 3s. If that's too easy, try naming U.S. states or months of the year backwards. Keep your breath rhythm. Keep your eyes focused. Let your brain sweat a little. This is the layer that makes the practice truly functional. And now, number 1. The element that changes everything, the piece that makes this more than an exercise and turns it into a daily nervous system reset that builds confidence, independence, and longevity all at once. You do it with intention, and you end it with gratitude. This sounds soft, but it's neurologically crucial. In Japanese culture, many daily practices end with a moment of appreciation. A small bow, a quiet thank you, a pause to acknowledge what you just did. It's not religious, it's relational. You're building a relationship with your body based on respect, not fear or frustration. Here's what happens when you bring intention and gratitude into this practice. You stop seeing it as a test you might fail and start seeing it as a gift you give yourself. That shift in mindset changes your nervous system response. Instead of approaching the practice with anxiety, wondering if you'll wobble or fall, you approach it with curiosity and appreciation. And when your nervous system feels safe, your balance improves. It's not magic, it's biology. Anxiety tightens muscles and shortens breath. Gratitude relaxes muscles and deepens breath. Relaxed muscles and deep breath equal better balance. It's that simple. But there's more. When you end a practice with gratitude, you're telling your brain that what you just did mattered. You're reinforcing the neural pathways you just trained. You're turning a physical task into a meaningful ritual. And rituals stick. Rituals become part of your identity. You're not just someone who tries to balance sometimes. You're someone who honors their body every single morning. That identity shift is what makes this sustainable for years, not weeks. A longitudinal study from a longevity research center in Okinawa followed seniors who practiced daily balance and mobility exercises with a mindfulness and gratitude component. After 5 years, they had significantly lower rates of falls, higher self-reported quality of life, and better adherence to the exercise routine compared to a control group who did the same exercises without the mindfulness piece. The researchers concluded that the psychological component, the sense of purpose and self-efficacy, was just as important as the physical component in maintaining long-term benefit. Let me tell you about Helen. 86 years old, lived in Massachusetts, former teacher, widow, lived alone. She was terrified of falling. She'd seen friends break hips, lose independence, end up in nursing homes. That fear had made her careful to the point of paralysis. She barely left her house. I taught her this practice, 90 seconds a day, bare feet, breath, intention. But I also taught her to finish with 5 seconds of stillness and a quiet thank you to her body. She thought it was silly at first, but she did it. After 2 weeks, she told me something had shifted. She said she wasn't afraid of her body anymore. She felt like her body was on her team again. 3 months later, she joined a walking group at her church. 6 months later, she took a trip to visit her daughter in California, something she'd been putting off for 2 years. She told me the balance practice hadn't just made her steadier, it had made her braver. Here's your final protocol. Before you begin each morning, set an intention. It can be as simple as, I'm here to take care of my body, or I'm building strength and confidence today. Say it silently or out loud. Then do your 90 seconds, all the elements we've covered, bare feet, breath, focus, whatever level you're at. When you finish, stand with both feet on the ground, take one deep breath, and say thank you. Thank your body for showing up. Thank your brain for adapting. Thank yourself for making this a priority. 5 seconds, that's all. But those 5 seconds will change the way you see yourself, and that will change everything. So here's what you do starting tomorrow morning. Find a spot near a wall or counter. Take off your shoes. Stand on one leg for 10 seconds. Switch, repeat 3 times per side. Breathe slowly, 4 counts in, 6 counts out. Do it right after you brush your teeth or make your coffee. Same time, same place every single day. Once you hit 20 seconds per leg, close your eyes for a few seconds. Add head turns. Practice in different rooms. Add a cognitive task. And always finish with intention and gratitude. 90 seconds a day. That's it. No gym, no equipment, no excuses. This is the practice that 99% of American seniors are missing. This is the practice that's kept millions of older adults in Japan mobile, confident, and independent well into their 80s and 90s. This is the practice that can reduce your fall risk, sharpen your mind, calm your nervous system, and give you back a sense of control over your own body. And it takes less time than it takes to check your email. Your balance is not a fixed trait. It's a skill, and skills can be trained at any age. You are not too old. You are not too unsteady. You are not too far gone. You're just untrained. And training starts with one leg, one breath, one morning. So tell me, which part of this practice are you going to start with tomorrow, and what's one thing you hope it will change for you?